78904 if you want to get all technical. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to sing Breakfast at Tiffany's from Deep Blue Something because that was our pre-show conversation. Myself and TJ Zwarich, we had a little bit of music trivia, and TJ was rocking out as much as you can possibly rock out. Of course, y'all know TJ, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, was rocking out to Deep Blue Something. It was a poppy hit, one-hit wonder back in the day, 1994, 1995, give or take. What else is on that Spotify of yours, TJ? Is it kind of a mix of all? I feel like you're all over the place.
I'm an Apple Music guy for one, and it came out in 1993. And I was listening to a playlist called 90s Pop Hits.
Oh man, did you create this yourself, or can you steal it from somebody else? I don't know how that works.
No, I just Googled 90s Pop Hits, and then it was the first one playlist there.
Okay, yeah, Torn by Natalie Imbruglia has got to be on there.
Maybe.
If it's not an official list. Just throw the list out. Start all over again.
I will send that into the list people and see what they hit me back with.
I want to know what else is on the board now. 90s Pop Hits. So, of course, this is the 2 hours of non-stop, no nonsense NBA DFS conversation. Taking y'all straight up to lock today. It's myself and TJ Tanaka in tonight's Six Gamer. The chat. Throw out your favorite 90s Pop Hits. Let's see how many we can hit on the board here for TJ. Lord King Guru saying Bed of Roses by Bon Jovi. Yeah, I think that was 90s. Bon Jovi's a little bit more 80s, I think, depending on who you're asking. But I think that was a little bit later. Of course, like Shot to the Heart was 80s. But yeah, the best 90s pop songs in the chat. Fire them off. Let's see what we got. Best answer gets RotoGrinders Premium for a week. Best answer? Who decides that though, TJ? Who wants that sort of
the
pressure?
Number one pop song from the 90s is Stop by the Spice Girls.
I mean, you're saying objectively speaking, you're saying based upon like downloads and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I'm just saying it is.
Whatever you just throw it out there.
Whatever metric you want to use, that's number one.
Bittersweet Symphonies. That's where the bar starts at. Bittersweet Symphony. That of course. What's the Verve or the Verve Pipe? I think it was the Verve. Bittersweet Symphony. Thrown out there by Tina. Played in Cruel Intentions. Don't want to spoil that for you, but that's near the end of Cruel Intentions as well. A very 90s movie. Have you seen Cruel Intentions, or is that were you allowed to see that as a child? Probably not. That was R-rated.
I might have. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. There's some inappropriate stuff for the kids for sure. You could have seen it at a later date though. You can see it now. It's probably streaming someplace. Mbop by Hanson. That is very definitive 90s.
That's a great song. That's a great tune.
It's not a great. I mean,
that's a bop. It's a bop.
Well, I mean, are you saying that because the song's called Mbop, or like you trying to make a joke or a pun of some sort, or what's going on?
Jokes don't work if you ask for an explanation after every single one of them, Dean.
Oh man, yeah. Also, like the hook was like they were like 13 and 15. Zach, Taylor, and Isaac. Why do I know that? Why do I know the name of the three players in Hanson? That's information I don't need in my brain anymore. If I can somehow throw that out and add something else, discover how to cure cancer or something like that, I would love to do that. But no, unfortunately, my head is stuck with complete nonsense like that.
Endless amounts of like Pokemon and Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge from my childhood that is just ingrained in my head. Home phone numbers from phone numbers that don't exist anymore, just still in there. I can't remember people's birthdays anymore, but I remember everyone's birthdays I went to elementary school with.
I'm the same way. I don't know any of that stuff. And it's funny, I was thinking about like if you ever get, you get the one phone call in jail, that's what they do on TV at least. I assume that's how that goes. I don't know anybody's number. I don't know who to call. Like, can I get my phone so I can get an actual? I don't know how that works. I don't know.
Here's a question for you, Dean.
Yeah.
You are going to an auction.
Yeah.
And you just drove your car. You didn't drive the truck. You just drove a little car. And you got.
Why do I have a truck?
Because you got to call your wife. And you got to say, hey, I purchased this large bull, and I need you to bring the truck so we can come pick up this large bull. And now your phone is dead, however. Your phone is dead. And so you have to call collect. You're going to a payphone that still exists, and you have to call.
Where is that?
Because no one will let you, wherever they sell bulls, no one will let you use their cell phone because they're mean here, because you got the bull that they wanted. So you're calling your wife collect. You can only say one word to let her know that she's got to come with the truck to pick up this bull. What do you say?
We got to maybe get the boy. So in this very ridiculous hypothetical, like having a wife, having a truck, and being interested in the bull, the most unlikely part of the story, I believe, is finding a payphone somewhere. So I can only say one word to get her to let her know. Like, do we have a pre-conversation about? Hey, I'm speculating about getting in the bull business.
Yes, but you didn't give her a word. You didn't give her like a safe word or anything like that.
What's the safe word from Eurotrip? You ever see Eurotrip? It's like a really long, like Swedish or German word. It's like 19 syllables.
I don't know. Find the word for the joke, otherwise it's not going to work.
I don't know. You're setting me up. You're throwing the alley-oop, but I'm dropping it. I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Comfortable.
Oh no.
Yeah.
TJ's got dad jokes. Man, that is yeah, there you go. Oh, it smells like Teen Spirit being thrown out. That's a definitive 90s song. That's a grunge song. That's not a pop song.
That's a rock song. That's the best rock song of the 90s.
I appreciate the nomination. Like I see
that's arguably like the best song of the 90s.
I mean, yeah, sure. You want to have that conversation. Or like definitively, it changed the way radio was overnight, essentially. Like Poison and Motley Crue and those kind of bands just like essentially went away instantly. And obviously flannel. I don't know if flannel hit. You guys still rock out the flannel in Canada, I believe. I think it's still. That's not a part of that's not a part of the official. What is it? The tuxedo? What's it called? The denim on denim. What's like a Canadian tuxedo, right?
Yeah, but, yeah. No, that's. I mean, it could be if you want it to be.
We're having fun today. It's a 6-gamer.
Dean is the authority on Canada, so.
No, I yield to you. That's why I asked you the question, didn't I? Did I not ask the question? I wasn't stating it as fact. I think I was asking. You are our official Canadian authority, I believe, by default, if nothing else.
This is true.
Yeah.
Dean, are you in any season-long baseball leagues?
I'm in multiple. I'm in too many, and I actually have one more tomorrow night for the RotoGrinders official. Like it's been the same people for like probably 10 years now. It seems mostly.
Some people are too many. I can take your spot in that one, but I'm in one tonight, so I may hit you up for some help because I've never done a season-long baseball league before.
Really? Okay.
I'm pretty locked in. A lot of season-long football and basketball, and then obviously a lot of baseball DFS, but never done a season-long baseball league before. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, I'll be available. Sure. Hit me up later on tonight. I don't know what time your draft is, but I should be around. Feel free to give me a ping. Talking about the slate today, and again, plenty of time here to knock this out. Crunch Time crew comes in. Still an hour away until y'all get Tim, Tasteful Tides, and I believe Will from some tournament takes as well. I feel like we have most of the information on this slate, which is kind of weird this time of year. Only 6 games. A lot of the games are early. We have one that's late all by itself, kind of an island game later on. Golden State, home versus New Orleans, 10 o'clock. Every other game starts before 8, first 5, then 2-hour break. The other thing is like New Orleans, they played last night, back half of a back-to-back, but they probably, none of those guys got a ton of run because they absolutely, wait for it, they mollywopped the Portland Blazers, who somehow are still not relegated out of the league. I don't know why. NBA's got to get on this and kick them out at some point, but they're still pretending to be an NBA basketball team. Also, that game is really meaningful. New Orleans and Golden State are thoroughly jockeying for position there in the Western Conference. So I expect no shenanigans in that game as far as body parts, New Orleans and Golden State. Assuming everybody will be playing it straight up, several games today. Actual some meaningful basketball. Miami versus Toronto jockeying for position in the East as well. We did have Jimmy Butler earlier today was in and questionable and doubtful. Now he's officially out. Despite the fact that game is meaningful, we have a homecoming game for Kyle Lowry facing your Toronto Raptors. My Miami Heat versus your Toronto Raptors. How about that? Both our teams stink. As far as a fully healthy Boston team, basically, no Jared Allen tonight for Cleveland. So a little bit of value there. Washington's still pretty beat up. So there's some value as far as the Washington side. Charlotte is really, really beat up. And the other side of that game is SGA. That looks like a pretty logical game stack. We'll go through the body parts, obviously, game by game in a second, but I'm curious what your screenshot is as far as the slate. I'm going to give the most recent update. I'm going to do some optimals and see what we have. I'm assuming we're spitting out 2 or 3 or possibly 4 Hornets, which is kind of uncomfortable, but that's the slate. You tell me, what's your screenshot here? What are we looking at?
A whole lot of OKC Thunder, a little bit of Charlotte, a little bit of New Orleans, a little bit of Golden State, quite a bit of Memphis, mixing in some Atlanta and Cleveland, and not getting to a whole lot of the first two games.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to run some optimals. Let's see what we have here. Like, it doesn't mean you can't play Boston. Of course, Jason Tatum, he could be the highest scoring player in the slate. That's absolutely possible. But, everybody is back for Boston with the exception of they might have Grant Williams unavailable. I think it was a midday downgrade as far as an illness. Illnesses tend to be more on the outside. You never really know how sick somebody may or may not be. But usually when it comes down that day and it's an illness, they're probably not going to play. Some more nominations in the chat. Mo Money, Mo Problems. That was not that's not a pop song though, right? I wouldn't call that a pop song. Blind Melon No Rain is on your list though. That's probably on your list. It's kind of guitar-y, but I guess it's poppy. I guess we'll call that poppy. On the list you have the pop 90s hits. Do you see Blind Melon? Show me Blind Melon.
I don't know. I don't have the list in front of me. I have the line at HQ in front of me now.
You do not have like multiple screens and multiple tabs?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I, unlike you, always have the video share up at all times just in case Steve has to contact one of us.
Well, what about just in case I ask you a callback to ask you about music? What's more important?
Steve, always Steve.
That's fair, yeah. By the way, not officially out just yet, but we're expecting Ja to sit. I think he's doubtful. So Tyus Jones season, didn't really mention that. The very first optimal I ran on DK, 2 Cavaliers. Again, no Jared Allen. 3 players in the Thunder, like you said, a lot of Thunder. 1 player in the Miami Heat, absence of Jimmy Butler. Tyus Jones, because of course. And then we have a Hornets. I thought there were more Hornets. Maybe there's more Hornets on Fanduel when I was running stuff. That's possible, yeah, because I ran it on DK. And we'll update this throughout the show as well. All right. Hey, producer Devin, shout out to TJ. So TJ, you apparently helped Devin 3X's money yesterday. So this is why I say congratulations to Devin. Nice job, TJ. Well done. On the crunch time portion of the show, I guess Devin did not have time to watch the first hour and a half of the show. We kind of set the table, but we set the pins up and you knocked them down and Devin knocked them down. Devin 3X's. Congratulations to D-Train. By the way, I'm a liar. I said we're going to be giving away RG Premium every single day, all the way up to baseball. And I just forgot to do it yesterday. So we'll give away 2 weeks today. How about that? Maybe can we spin the wheel, Steve? Is that possible? Is that something we can make happen on the fly in like 45 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Steve can make anything happen. But here's the thing, Dean. Devin didn't watch Grinders Live yesterday because he's a producer. He gets alerts when when X number of likes are hit. And so if we don't get enough likes, Devin doesn't get the alert on his phone because he just kind of assumes, well, nobody's doing their job. We probably don't have a show today. And so with over 400 people watching yesterday and Grinders Live only getting like 30 likes where we had to bump it way up on crunch time, he didn't get, he didn't get.
That's egregious.
It is.
Who's that on? Can we blame that on somebody?
That's on you. That's on you specifically. And so that's why Devin didn't start watching until crunch time, is because we didn't get to the 100 like bare minimum plateau until for him to get the notification until crunch time. So that's why.
Can I redeem myself? Can I have a redemption story? Can we possibly get those bumps up so I don't get the same lecture tomorrow or the next day? Is that possible?
That would be great.
People help me out?
That would be wonderful.
I would appreciate that. Anything else we should note here as far as the slate? And again, I just want to see the body parts. I think basically everything that matters is kind of out there, right? Again, John not officially out, but he's doubtful. Oh, Kelly Oubre is questionable. That's kind of a big one. And Gordon Hayward's doubtful too. I assume he's out, but we'll see. Stay tuned on that as far as Charlotte. But everything else seems like, and it's kind of weird because, end of the year, only so many days left. We have those crossover shows next week, which is going to be dicey for sure. Yeah, I think everything else is kind of decided, unless I've missed. Gary Trent is questionable, and Barton's officially doubtful, but I don't want that stink on my team anyway. Well, he burned me one day, and I'm bitter about it, I suppose. But yeah, anything else we should mention before we kind of go game by game, go all around?
No, let's start going through it because I think we're gonna have very little to talk about in some of these games, and then others we're probably gonna want to spend a lot of time on. So let's dive in.
I feel like, I'm curious what your take is as far as a lot to talk about or not, as far as Boston and Washington. 222.5 is the total in that game. Washington is a 12-point dog here at home. That is a pretty big number. Like we said before, Boston basically fully healthy. Tatum no longer on that injury report. Grant Williams is currently questionable with his illness. Peyton Pritchard's available for what it's worth. Not a lot, but a body that's available if they need it. Washington still without Beal, still without Kuzma. Now add Daniel Gafford to that list. Monty Morris is available. I guess, do we think Washington still cares about getting their playoff spot? Is sort of like a question, because we haven't really seen. They've kind of babied Porzingis a little bit. Is sort of my thought on this, and I'm curious your thought, because if they really wanted to get in the playoffs, they really cared about losing in the play-in, or somehow getting lucky in the play-in and losing in the first round to Boston or Milwaukee. I feel like they'll be pushing a little bit more. What is Washington doing? They're also playing Johnny Davis, the lottery pick that's really been way behind as far as development, which to me signals kind of red flag, and they know the season's over. What are the Wizards doing, and what are you doing with the Wizards? Because theoretically, you look at the math, Porzingis is an awesome play.
That's the thing, right? He's going to project great. His rates are going to be great when he's out there. And he'll probably still be a perfectly fine point per dollar play in the limited minutes he's going to get. But I am playing it like he's going to get limited minutes. Now, I will say this isn't like past nights where he's going to be 30, 40% owned. And at only 12% ownership on a small slate like this, he's got actually a pretty darn great tournament play. Having said that, I'm not getting to too much of him right now in my initial build. I'm playing 20 lineups today. I only have him in one of them. And so I'm only getting to about 5% Porzingis. I'm thinking maybe I should bump that up a little bit. But as it stands right now, not getting to much of these Wizards at all. My highest owned Wizard today, I think, is going to be do I have anyone in more than 5% of lineups? It doesn't look like I do.
You might have some Avdia, but he's gotten bumped up as far as his 10%. Price.
There it is. Avdia and Monty Morris both in 10% of my lineups.
Yeah. Then I see somebody in the chat here. Infinity is asking about Taj Gibson. The lack of Gafford. We're actually anticipating Anthony Gildedal to start. So maybe Porzingis starts the 5. Morris, Kispert, Avdia, Porzingis, and Gill. We've seen Taj start at some points this year. But come on, man. I'm not playing Taj Gibson in the year 2023 in game 75. And it's not even a good matchup. On the season, what is his fantasy points per minute outlet? He's not even listed in the 10 guys. I got to find. What is he, 0.6 on the season fantasy points per minute, 8.7? How many minutes are we giving Taj tonight? Probably not a lot. Maybe 15 or 20. We're giving him 15. We're giving him 15 minutes. And, of course, if he starts, I suppose he's 3K. But also opportunity cost, center and center only. I can't imagine playing Taj Gibson is the long story here as far as Taj Gibson. I assume you're the same way.
I currently have him in the pool, and the optimizer has given me him in one of my 20 lineups, and I don't really want him in any of them. But, he's had multiple 25-plus point games in 14 to 15, 17 minutes this year. And so if this turns ugly and they decide, hey, we're only going to play Porzingis 24 minutes today, you dock 10 minutes off of Porzingis's, they're probably going to go to Gibson here because they just literally don't have any other centers on the roster. Maybe he could put up 28 fantasy points today, and that's actually a really good score for 3K flat. So if you're MMEing, I think you can keep him in the pool. But if you're playing 1 lineup, 3 lineups, even 10 lineups, I don't think you consider him.
And Porzingis played 34 minutes last game, 28, 22 before that. I think there was some foul trouble and some blowout stuff too, but they had some of the starters in there to close out a blowout. But they didn't bring Porzingis back. So I don't know if that was a sign. And we've seen before, remember he was super, super chalky a couple slates ago. He absolutely smashed in the first half. We just basically saw him disappear the second half because the game got out of hand and they did not let him do much in that scenario. I think he's interesting for tournaments. And he can get there theoretically in 34 minutes too, but I wish they would extend him a little bit, 34, 35, 36, something like that. And we'll see. It's possible. That's a medium projection. The Boston side, everybody healthy. Matchups are fine. Prices are kind of where they should be. Ownership-wise on Fanduel for Boston, nobody getting more than 7%, which is pretty interesting. And on DK, it's kind of the same story, right? Nobody getting more than 8.5%. That's Jason Tatum. 2% for White, 2% for Brown. If you're running 100, I think it's not hard to get over on Brown, but 9.9, He's basically the same price now as Tatum. I know he's kind of been better than Tatum of late, the last month or so. It's hard for me. I'm making 1, 2, 3, 4 lineups. It's really hard for me to justify playing Brown at 9-9. I don't think I can do that. I'll be different elsewhere. Your thoughts as far as the Celtics?
Yeah, not getting to too much of any of them today. For what it's worth, I'm trying to get a little bit more exposure to this game than I had before, just based on trying to get maybe Porzingis in 2 of 20 lineups instead of 1, and Jason Tatum in 2 of 20. Maybe get Jaylen Brown in 1 of 20. But as it stands, like in this last build that I just did, Tatum, Rob Williams, and Al Horford each landed in 1 lineup, but none of these other guard or wing players did. And so I feel like Washington maybe just like the potential for this game to stay close and Washington to just run Porzingis the minutes, because why not? They're not worried about him getting hurt maybe. With his history, I feel like they should be, but it's my least favorite game on the slate, but I feel like it's undeniable that it does have some upside.
Washington, by the way, for the record, they're 3 games behind Chicago. Chicago currently sitting in the 10 spot. So Washington, I mean, if they really wanted to make the playoffs, they're kind of in must-win situation. Essentially, I don't want to say that they have to win out, but close to it, right? Being 3 games behind Chicago, and Chicago's in the 10, where they would have to win 2 games in the play-in nonsense, both, I believe, on the road, in order to get into the official playoffs. Washington's essentially out, but mathematically they're still alive, and maybe they have one last gasp here, but basically playing out the string. Anything else that's worth noting as far? By the way, Boston's kind of entrenched in the 2 spot. They're 3 games up on Philly in the 3, Boston in the 2, and Milwaukee's got, I think, 2 games on them. And Milwaukee, are they going to lose 3, 4 games? Probably not. Rest of the way. So basically, Boston's in the 2, but we'll see. Not saying they're not trying, of course, just kind of throwing out there. Anything else here, TJ? Moving on.
I am tempted, honestly, to just X the whole game, but I'm probably going to leave it with as I have it right now. I kind of like this last set of builds where I get 10% Porzingis and Avdia, 10% Anthony Gill, 5% Gibson, Monte Morris, and then same thing with Horford, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Rob Williams. All of them I just got in 1 of 20, one of my 20 lineups.
All right, let's move on. But the perk or the upside of like fading the first game, outside of like it not being a great game, I don't think it's necessarily here today, because we have 6 games, 1 at 7, I think it's 2 at 7:30, 2 at 7:30, 3 at 8. So I think we're going to know basically all the information for the first 5 of 6 games at 7 o'clock. I think we might not know Charlotte. Charlotte's 8 o'clock, so that's something you might gain an edge on as far as getting information there. The 7 o'clock to 7:30 window. And again, I think New Orleans, Golden State's going to play straight up. We're not getting any shenanigans there. That's my anticipation. That game meaning something. Golden State well rested. New Orleans, while traveling, they were not pushed last night. Basically, none of the starters played in the 4th quarter. That ridiculous game against Portland. Let's move on. Game number 2. It's Cleveland at Atlanta. 238.5 is the total. Atlanta is a 2-point favorite. We talked about Jared Allen being out. And I think they have 1 or 2 of their fringe players that are out. Yeah, Dean Wade is out, Howell Neto is out, and Isaac Okoro is questionable. As far as Atlanta, they're fully healthy, unless you want to count Jalen Johnson. I would not. He doesn't matter. He's not really in their rotation anyway. So Atlanta, a full go. Cleveland, the absence of Allen, which means we're going to get some Mobley center minutes. How do you feel about Evan Mobley and the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Love Evan Mobley today. This is one. So I feel like there are 2 pretty obvious games today: Charlotte and OKC, Memphis against Orlando, and then I feel like this Pelicans against the Warriors game, and then this Cavs and Atlanta game are going to be the 2 that really dictate tournaments, because one of Garland, Mitchell, or LeVert is probably going to have a really big game. Evan Mobley who is going to be the leading scorer between Evan Mobley and Bam Adebayo in the other 7:30 game. That's probably going to be a huge factor on this slate. I love the Atlanta side for tournaments. But on the Cleveland side of things, Garland, Mitchell, both guys that I want to get around 20% of. I feel like where the field is getting to is about where I want to get to on these guys as well. And then Evan Mobley is somebody I'm trying to get way more than the field is. We're currently projecting him for 15% ownership. And I'm getting to about 40% Mobley today.
Yeah, I love Mobley a lot too. Mobley versus Bam is an interesting question we'll talk about in a second. Miami, Toronto, that's on layaway. Bam should get a bit of a boost with the absence of Butler. Cleveland is the slowest team in all of basketball, and they're facing Atlanta. Atlanta, obviously they play pretty fast. They've been playing faster on their new coach, Snyder. On the season, Atlanta 7th fastest in pace in the last 10 games. Snyder's been around for about 10 games or so. They are 2nd in pace, and their defense, not good. About 7th or 8th worst in the league as far as defense. By the way, last 10 games, Miami 3rd worst. Miami Heat's a team that prides himself defensively historically. Defense has kind of been falling off of late. And no Butler tonight as well. Just kind of throwing that one out there. We'll talk about that in a second. The Garland price on DK is really good. 7.4 for Garland seems too cheap. If you can get the Mitchell 8.6, I'm fine with that as well. Both getting ownership. It's there. 27% on Garland, 21% on Mitchell. Mobley only 14%. And I think it's salary. We haven't really seen him in 8-1. And that's about as high as he's been all season long. But I think he's earned it. On the other side, Capella's crept out of the 5s. Now he's at 6K. Still getting 12%. Dejounte Murray all the way down to 7.6, which I think is a pretty interesting price. Again, though, the pace, they're going way down in pace here against Cleveland. So that's kind of baked in. Ownership there is at, 13%. Trae Young, only getting 9% on a 6-gamer. I don't really love the Trae Young spot here. It's fine. You can always get there.
I love Trae Young tonight.
Will you love him because of ownership, or do you think because this is an incredible Trae Young spot? Because it's not an incredible Trae Young spot, in my opinion.
Both.
Okay. Tell me why. Sell me.
2 games against the Cavs this season, Trae Young has averaged 49 points in 49 fantasy points in those games at his price tag. That is well over 5x. He's basically, his floor is pretty close to 5x his salary at this 9K price tag. You're not often going to see below 40 points for Trae Young in a game, and especially a game that has a 2.5-point spread. If Isaac Okoro is out tonight, I think this genuinely is like a great matchup for him. If Okoro is in, then the matchup is all of a sudden gets a bit worse. But that team defense is going to get a lot worse already without Jared Allen in the lineup. And then if you add no Isaac Okoro, Garland and Mitchell are much more of a product of that team defense than they are phenomenal individual defenders. They're not bad by any means, but I think Trae Young's in a great spot today, especially if Okoro's out. And in the past this season, he's torched the Cavs.
Yeah, well, what was he in those 2 games? I don't care about those 2 games. But was somebody out in those 2 games? Did he shoot ridiculous? Let's see. Now I'm curious. He was 19
of 40. It never really
40.
matters who's out for him. He's going to shoot a 10 always.
5 of 14 from 3. I mean, it's basically a season average, right? 48 DK points on average in 2 games.
But that's it, right? We're projecting him for over 42 DK points, and he's 9K. So or 9-1, 9-2, whatever he is. So that's a pretty darn good median projection for somebody who's picking up no ownership.
I mean, I think he's the 3rd worst point guard in this game when you consider salary. I think Garland and Mitchell are both better. He might be worse than Murray.
And I think
in this game,
fantastic.
Well, then you can't say everything's fantastic. Then fantastic loses all meaning. You can't say everything is fantastic because nothing.
I can. It's 120 to 118 game. Everything.
That's how
is
language
fantastic.
works, though. You can't describe everything as fantastic because
relative
the word
to this
fantastic has no
slate,
meaning.
yes, I can describe everything in this game as fantastic because it's a 6-game slate. It has the highest spread on the slate, and it's the only game that has a close spread of all of them.
Yeah, but again, Garland's a better play. I think Mitchell's a better play. Maybe Trae Young's a better play than Murray. I don't know. The best sales pitch, and I'm not saying you can't play him, obviously. I'm just kind of having some fun. And we're stretching it out a little bit, too, because, it's a 6-gamer. We got to go for another 45 more minutes. We can only talk about so much 90s pop, which I'm sure that'll come up later on in the show as well. The best argument, I think, is the ownership. That's the best argument for Trae Young.
He's the best tournament play of all of them. Because
that's the argument, but not because he was good in 2 games against them this year. Who cares about that? It's because of the ownership, and we've seen his upside and his ceiling. That's the lead, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, that was the lead in my statement. You just latched onto the one thing you disagreed with. That's literally what I led with.
Well, I've watched some First Take in my day. So I'm told this is how it's done.
First Take is criticized by everyone who watches it as a terrible show. It's successful because the internet hates terrible stuff, but people are here for actual knowledge. We don't want First Take. We want to know what the good takes are. Don't convince people not to play Trae Young. He's coming in at sub 10% ownership.
What did I say not to play Trae Young? I said the best reason to play him is because of his ownership, not because he was good against them earlier this year.
That adds to it.
Not really.
I was
watching Skip Bayless argue with Skip Bayless about Aaron Rodgers earlier today, and that was amusing to me. Telling how great he is and how terrible he is. Somebody spliced it together, and I guess I was inspired. I don't know what just happened there. I'm easily influenced. Other players on Atlanta, I kind of mentioned Murray in passing, Capella, Collins. Any of these guys do anything for you?
Capella, I don't mind. I think he has a strong tournament upside if he gets the minutes. Not really getting to any of these other guys, though. It's a lot of Dejounte and Trae Young for me, and then a little bit of Capella, not really anybody else.
By the way, the defense versus archetype matchup tool here, if you call Trae Young a combo guard, it is the 29th best matchup in basketball, or the second worst, depending on if you're an optimist or a pessimist, however you want to phrase that. Not a good matchup defensively. They are without Allen, which is a good point, and they're all potentially without Okoro, which is also another good point. So, yeah, that is worth noting. We'll keep our eyes on it as far as that. Okoro doesn't only matter a ton DFS-wise, but he is a good defensive player. Trying to see if Grant Williams still game time decision. Gary Payton may or may not. Yeah, that's the one for Golden State. We may get Gary Payton back tonight. I imagine he wouldn't play a ton. Will Barton officially out. Trent now doubtful. Kyle Lowry expected to play with his old knee in Toronto. Yeah, so no Barton and probably no Trent. Doubtful. Interesting. We'll talk about that shortly. No update on Grant Williams. Your thoughts as far as the Cavs? You mentioned Mobley. You want to go beyond that? You want to talk about their guards or anything else that's worth mentioning?
If you're playing lots of lineups on the Cavs, I think like LeVert, and then if Okoro is out, I mean, then LeVert, Lamar Stevens, Chetty Osman, Ricky Rubio, I think all these guys you can keep in your pool. But it's mainly just Garland, Mitchell, and Mobley.
Yeah, Mr. Richard says, if I'm playing a second calf, I'm thinking Garland. I think Garland too.
And then you run it back with Trae Young because you're not going to play Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley together without a run back.
First of all, you don't have to do that. You certainly can, and I understand the reasons why one would. But certainly this is a better matchup for Cleveland facing Atlanta than it is Atlanta facing Cleveland. You can see that, I assume.
I mean, sure, but it's still a 2-point spread with the highest total on the board.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Atlanta's projected to score more points than Cleveland is. There's still going to be a ton of points scored in this game.
But they're also going to have less possessions than they typically have, and their typical their prices are based on what they've done typically. So whatever. But again, the best conversation for Trae Young is that if he's going to be low owned for sure, he's got to be in play for you. We're moving on, right? Anything else here that we should say, or we're moving on? I think we're moving on.
I don't know if I want to move on yet because I want to look at this and I feel like they're not kind of priced where they typically are because both Trae Young and Dejounte Murray got a price decrease, and that's one of the reasons they're such good plays. But I want to back it up with
Trae Young was in the 8s not too long ago.
All right, let's look at looky here. So Trae Young was 9,500, 9,400, 9,600, 9,900, 9,500, 9,400. This is the lowest he's been in 2.5 weeks. And so, and they have the highest total on the board. And if you look at Dejounte Murray,
but they always have the highest total on the board because it's them. It's not their opponent.
Yeah, and now they got price decreases. And Dejounte Murray was 8,200, so that's a $600 decrease for him. 79, 78, 83, 79, 77. This is the lowest Dejounte Murray has been priced. Ooh, this is a lot of scrolling. This is the lowest Dejounte Murray has been priced this season. This is the lowest price Dejounte Murray has had this entire season. Yes.
Hold on a second.
He has not been priced lower on DraftKings this entire season. That's why they're such good plays, because yes, they have the highest total on the board like they usually do. But guess what? Today, the only team that has close is the team in the same game. Golden State has a higher total, but all these other spreads are 8+ points. And this is the lowest price Dejounte Murray has been the entire season.
Well, this is why Dejounte Murray is a better play than Trae Young. Thank you for making my point. I appreciate that.
They're both great plays. Stop besmirching. We can have a critical discussion about the games without besmirching. If they're great plays, we can just both talk about how great plays they are.
Why are you anti-besmirch?
Because the people are here to figure out who the great plays are. And so we don't need to argue for the sake of arguing when they're both just awesome plays. This game is awesome. It's fantastic, Dean. It's all fantastic. It's the game environment. It's all great.
And also, yeah, Trae Young's minutes have taken a slight, just an incremental hit under Snyder per game for whatever reason. He hasn't been pushed as much. I don't know if that's worth looking into. Small samples, whatever. But just note that, I suppose. Let's argue some more. My Heat versus your Raptors. 219 is the total of the Heat in Toronto. 6-point dogs here, 5.5-point dogs. The absence of Jimmy Butler is going to open up some value on the Miami side. Theoretically, yeah, so no Butler. Lowry expected to go. Everybody else that matters should be good for Miami. Barton being out and Trent, I assume he's going to be out, and I'm guessing we projected Trent, right? Because he was just questionable earlier, so we might have to get a slight update on that. Kick him out of there. He's probably getting like 25 minutes or so. Start with the Heat. You mentioned Bam Adebayo, and yeah, put Bam Adebayo up against other centers on this slate. Against Mobley, you talked about. Where's your lean amongst those two?
Mobley over Adebayo for me today. I just think the ceiling is so much higher for that game environment than this Miami and Toronto one. So much lower of a total. Miami's projected for 12 less points than Cleveland is. And just based on that, I just don't really want to get to them at the same amount. Yes, Bam Adebayo is cheaper. Bam Adebayo is a great cash game play today. If you land on him in your lineup, it's going to project very well. And I'm not even saying to fade Bam Adebayo because I'm getting about 20% of him today. It's just Mobley's a guy I'm getting about 40% of because I view him as somebody with a much higher ceiling today.
All right. Chat's talking about Downton. Yeah, Downton is getting some run. Shout out to our projection team, by the way. They've already updated this, the Toronto side. We're giving 20 minutes to Downton. Downton's just been like a terrible player, for lack of a DFS-wise. 12% usage, that's worthless. It's 0.66 fantasy points per minute. 0.66 fantasy points per minute. That is not ideal. I know he's still minimum 3K, and like maybe he plays 20 minutes and he can kind of just fall into 20 points. I suppose that's possible. But, I don't think I'm digging that deep on my 3 or 4 lineups. Did you have a thought as a Toronto Raptors fan? Jeff Downton, well, we're giving him 20 minutes and 12 fantasy points. He's a terrible fantasy player, but he is stone minimum if you want to like beg for the upside of like the best possible outcome where he puts up 22 or something like that. And then all your Raptors, they're not getting a ton of ownership. I guess this will get an update, right? With the absence of Trent. We're still 20 minutes out of the last update, so that does not include the Trent information. We're going to get a pile of minutes, and this is a meaningful game, right? Toronto and Miami, I believe. It's also the rights to the tiebreaker for Miami and Toronto. Miami currently in the 7 spot, Toronto in the 9 spot. They're both currently in the play-in nonsense. They might see each other in the play-in nonsense. This might actually dictate who would host that game if it would come down to it. So both these teams are going to want this W for sure. So, your boy Nick Nurse might play his Raptors like 38, 39, 40 minutes. We're giving 37 to FEV, 37 to Pascal, 35 to Scotty. Pearl's getting 29, OG's getting 36. You can only project so much for a median projection, but that's a huge median projection, but it's fully justified. Of course, the prices have, they're kind of what they should be. Ownership is really low. FEV at 3%. And again, this will change a little bit. But, talk about your Raptors.
I don't really want to all that much. I'm not really playing any of them today. This is going to be a good game to watch, but this is going to be such a great defensive game. Both these teams are going to defend, and they're going to defend hard. Without Jimmy Butler, I don't really think Miami's going to win. I think Toronto will probably spread this bigger than the 5.5 spread that it is right now. So I actually like that Toronto bet. But I mean, maybe not. These teams always play each other so hard. I'm better at DFS than I am at sports betting. Why even try and do that?
Stay in your lane, TJ.
Exactly. See, this is why there's no reasons to always go like in-depth arguing with me. You might as well just agree, because I fold immediately when I'm wrong. You don't even have to argue. I just realize it halfway through and I fold.
You got to dig in. You got to just double down and triple down. That's the rules. That's what I learned from First Take, at least. I've learned how to have discussions on First Take.
Stop learning things from First Take. This is the problem with the American education system. This is like you guys are looking at the wrong things for education.
Stephen A. Smith is not somebody who's going to be all right. Fair enough. I feel like he's taught America a lot. Okay.
If whatever Skip Bayless does, you just do the opposite. That's just like perfect. That's how you should live your life.
Shows what you know. He's been gone from First Take for like 7 years now, I think.
Yeah, I don't care.
For the record, I don't watch First Take.
It's literally the same thing, just a different network.
I just catch like little glimpses on Twitter here and there, but I do not watch those shows. I think Will is a big fan of First Take. I've heard him reference it on occasion. He'll be jumping on. He'll probably be a First Take stand in about a half hour. He's going to be coming in for Crunch Time.
Will knows how to take it with parody, though.
Well, I don't. I'm parodying it right now.
Will is a critical thinker, Dean.
Oh, well, that's. I feel like you're saying something without saying. Just say what you want to say, TJ.
Oh, I am.
Wow. All right. By the way, like you talk about Trae Young as being super low owned. I think it's worth throwing some darts to these Toronto guys. I know it's not the greatest matchup in the world, but again, the game is super meaningful. We might get 37, 38, 39, 40 minutes out of some of these guys. Minutes equal money. For sure in tournaments, cash game, maybe not so much. We kind of jumped away from him. That was my bad. I don't know why I steered it towards Toronto right away. We talked about Bam Adebayo. What about the rest of the guys on Miami? Looks like Max Strus is going to be a fairly interesting cheapie. He's super reliant on his three-pointer. If his three-pointer's going in, he's good. He's great. I saw him. He came off the bench the other day. I think he scored 20 points in the first half, like 5 for 5, just firing his threes, and that's just how it goes. And, how do you predict if a guy's going to go 5 for 5 or 0 for 5? That's just sort of what he is. He's like Malik Beasley to some extent, right? And he's not going to get a ton of points in other ways, but 4.4K on TK, currently a 26-point projection, therefore an ownership of 17%, which, by the way, I think that's going to go up. Let's see. Give us a refresh, but I feel like it's going to go a little higher than that. Tyler Hero, about 18% as well. Again, more usage being delegated this way. Like Butler and Bam don't really want to be the top guy. They've come out and said they don't want to be the top scorers on a team. They like doing like other things and the dirty work. Hero's happy to take a ton of shots, so I'm not saying they're necessarily going to go in, but I think Hero's going to shoot a fair bit tonight. The peripheral pieces as far as Miami outside of Bam, I saw somebody in chat asking about, was it Strus versus Oladipo? There's no way I'm playing Oladipo tonight. No chance. That's not happening. He's buried in that depth chart, and they'll dust him off tonight. But yeah, I can't imagine playing Victor Oladipo. Play Strus over Oladipo. The rest of the Miami guys, your thoughts?
All of them are kind of like interesting as single pieces, max 2. I'm trying to get so much of these later games that I'm not getting all that much exposure to this game, but I do like single pieces. And so on the Miami side, Strus is actually probably my favorite, followed by Bam Adebayo. I'm getting about 15% of both of them, which Strus will probably be about even with. Bam, I'll be underweight too. I'm getting about 10% Caleb Martin. Just as not really like a target, but just as like a last piece. If he lands in a lineup as a value play, I'm okay with it. It's probably because I don't have Isaiah Joe in that lineup. And if I don't have Isaiah Joe in that lineup, it's probably because I have Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Luguentz Dort in that lineup. And so if Martin falls in a lineup like that, I'm totally okay with it. And then I do have in one of my 20 lineups, I have Kyle Lowry, just in case they decide to be like, hey, you're back in Toronto. Here's 5 extra minutes. Go run around, have some fun.
They love him up there, right? I feel like he likes it too, right? Aren't they a big fan? They love
we love him. We love him. He loves us. It ended on basically you still want to be a last piece on a championship team, go somewhere where you can get paid a little bit more. And then unfortunately, Miami just hasn't really been any better than Toronto.
Yeah, and speaking of Love, Kevin Love, like I suppose if you got to get there in the first 3 quarters because he will poof, he will disappear, he will pull a Kaiser Soze in the fourth quarter. Non-existent, Kyle. Kevin Love might as well just go take a shower when the fourth quarter starts because Miami is not playing in the fourth. But like it's possible he can kind of get there in his 20 minutes or so. He's got to get there early though because otherwise it's just not going to happen. We have the update here. Trent officially out. Update for Brunson tomorrow. He's questionable. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Anything else here as far as Miami, Toronto, or moving on? We're moving on, right? I think so.
What's moving on?
Let's do it. Charlotte, OKC. The best game on the slate from a DFS perspective. I think we actually agree on something. Well, a good question in chat. If not, first take, what is a good sports show to watch? It's a very good question because I didn't really have a great answer. I didn't really have anything. You got that TSN up there, right? That's like your sports
Grinders Live. Crunch Time, The Morning Grind, Food for Thought.
The six pack?
Yeah, the six pack, absolutely.
Pick six show for football?
To be perfectly honest with you, I've always enjoyed Pardon the Interruption. Around the Horn, great show.
Yeah, I always thought the Levitar was a really good thinker when it comes they have a lot of fun on their show, but they have good deep conversations as well. He's currently sponsored by DraftKings, their podcast now, but I always like Levitar. He's his show on ESPN was silly and goofy, but he can also talk serious if he wants to. And guy's an incredible writer too, whenever he wants to do that. All right, Charlotte.
You don't
OKC.
even need to pay for cable to get the very best sports show on your screen, and that's Grinders Live. All you got to do is, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button for us. Obviously, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. But if you're watching, I'm assuming you are. Just hit that like button for us. There's over 200 of you watching. We got to easily get this up over 100. Come on. Literally all you have to do is grab your mouse, slide it, and click a button. If you're on your phone, just click hide chat and click it. It's so easy and it helps us. And then I don't have to talk about it all the time. Please.
You're going to do it once more, though, before we hand it over to Roth. That's going to happen, I imagine. I see some questions popping up in chat.
People should just enter and then just click it immediately. That should be the first thing.
You get those Pavlov's dogs you kick in at some point, you'd think, right? Hero or Garland? Who do you prefer on DK? You can only pick one. I think Garland's the better play, but Hero might be the better math play. I mean, as far as they're similar ownership, right? Who do you prefer, Hero and Garland? I like them both. I think I have Garland ahead of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Garland's slightly ahead of Mitchell for me.
Okay, let's talk about OKC and Charlotte. Why is this the best game on the slate? 227 is a total. OKC about a 9 or 10 point favorite. Some clarity we need as far as Charlotte. We know Terry Rozier's out. Kelly Oubre, we're not sure. Gordon Hayward's doubtful, not certain. I would lean those guys being out, but we'll see. LaMelo, of course, is out. Martin, of course, is out. We're presuming, as of right now, DSJ draws the start with Kelly Oubre, along with Svi Mikhailiuk, PJ Washington, and Nick Richards. The thing with Charlotte now, they did this in the past, too. And I think under a different coach, which is so weird. They had their 3 centers, and every third game, one center is going to rest. They came out and said this, because I don't know if you saw, Richards had a DNP CD the other day out of nowhere. It's where'd that come from? Well, Charlotte's going to rest their centers. They're going to rest. The plan is, I suppose they're going to dress. I don't know. But the plan is that one of the 3 centers will rest every game. And this is Mark Williams' rest game, right? That's where we're at as far as the rotation in Charlotte. So Richards is going to go from DNP-CD, we're presuming, to draw the start, which makes him a spectacular value here. OKC, last I checked, yields the most total rebounds to opponents. Just a good matchup all around, and he's super, super cheap. So that's why Richards is popping. As far as OKC, the lack of SGA, no Gilgeous-Alexander, and apparently it's a real injury. It's not like some sort of back-to-back fake nonsense. He's legit. His ankle is bothering him. I know this is a solitary tier. You always love talking about your boy Lindy Waters. No Lindy Waters tonight. He's out also for OKC. They still have plenty.
Might as well just not even play the slate.
You always give Lindy Waters a courtesy shout out because he's shown a couple of ceiling games just out of nowhere.
Yeah, he was just randomly on my team that won a GPP one week, and so I'm just the number one Lindy Waters fan.
Well, look at you with the bam. Well, actually, did you win a GPP this year with Lindy Waters?
Yeah.
Look at you. Yeah,
I won the 50 cent on DraftKings since I started playing it a month and a half ago. I've won it 4 times so far.
You're playing in the minor leagues though. You're like a major leaguer. That's just like getting their swing back, and like you're playing against. No offense to those that are still playing in the quarter and the 50 cent, but and by all means, get your hacks in. You know,
it's like I might as well, right? Like if I have a chance to win a GPP every night without breaking the bank, it's fun because I also just like I enjoy running 150 sometimes when if I have a day that I don't have anything else going on, like it's just genuinely fun.
Yeah. I don't know how close you are to getting. They're saying no ban yet. I guess you're not getting banned just yet. I think you have to win a certain amount. And like I know you've talked about this. You've won mostly historically on FanDuel, but you pivoted over to play a lot more DK of late. And obviously, DK is not privy to how much money you've won on FanDuel, so you're just like a newbie over there. And to be clear, that was not umbrage. I just want to be clear. That was not umbrage. That was not shade. That was respect. Go there and get your swing right and dominate. By all means, keep taking those tournaments down. Build up that bankroll for sure.
For
your
what
thoughts
it's worth,
as far as go ahead.
We just got Gabe Vincent downgraded to questionable. Now that feels like something that's very small, but that probably makes a pretty big deal to Caleb Martin, maybe to Max Strus, even a couple extra minutes to Tyler Herro, and most of all, Kyle Lowry. It's Kyle Lowry night in Toronto.
I was thinking Oladipo.
I'm not just going to get 5% Kyle Lowry tonight. I'm going to get 10% Kyle Lowry tonight. I'm going to waste $8. I'm not going to waste just $4 on one team. I'm going to waste $8 on two teams.
So we have Vincent at 24 minutes going his way. And you can only give so many more to Martin. Martin's at 30, so Martin might get 32. Strus already at 34. You can't really up his percentage. Hero already at 35. So those minutes are going to go to Lowry. He'll probably go from 24 to 28, maybe to 30. But Oladipo is going to go from 12 to like 25. And I besmirched. I did besmirch Victor Oladipo. And can I rescind my besmirch? He might be like at least in the pool now. Okay. But again, come on. Who wants to click Victor Oladipo this year, 2023? But he will get a boost.
I think it's Kyle Lowry day. I honestly think it's Kyle Lowry day.
So he's at 24 minutes. He can play 30. Yeah. At 4.3K. Yeah. How many charges is he going to take? How many revenge charges is Kyle Lowry?
Over under a 1.5 charges and 2.5 3-pointers made. He's going to have 11.6 rebounds and 7 assists with a steal, a block, and a charge taken.
All right, let's jump back to OKC and Charlotte's.
Please don't lock in. This is why I took so much issue with
what did I do?
Our arguments earlier, because as a teacher, I want to make sure I'm always clear with my points, always on the educational side of speaking. So I want to correct myself here and be just clear. I'm getting 10% Kyle Lowry tonight. Don't do something crazy like lock him. I think he's an interesting tournament play with a potentially high upside. But not somewhere you're looking to like playing a single entry most likely. But that's why when you were like trying to talk down on Dejounte Murray and Trae Young today, those actually are great tournament plays. And so, yeah, watch yourself.
Well, we live in the world with salary cap. Young's not cheap is the other point that, we didn't got to get into. But by the way, I could speak as a teacher too. And I taught in the great state. They're known for their education system. Florida, have you heard of it? I've taught in Florida for years.
Yeah, they are known for the least amount of qualifications needed
how
to
dare
teach. They are known for that. Literally anyone can walk into a classroom and be a teacher.
I may have taken a test to get my certification. I don't remember.
To be clear, you would be in my upper percentile of people I would want doing the job. There's a lot worse people walking in that room and doing it.
Out of the pool of morons, you're my favorite moron.
You're my top moron for sure.
All right, we got to get back to the game of the night. Let's go. Let's stay on task here. Charlotte and OKC. Where do you want to start? Start with the Charlotte side. Charlotte's going to be pretty thin. King moron. Yes, thank you, Derek. It was a good run. Talk about the Hornets before I'm done talking about the Florida school system.
All right, time for no more nonsense. Hit the like button and also hit the like on Steve's message in Discord because we're going to spin the wheel for a free week of RG Premium after we're done talking about Charlotte and OKC. Like you said, this is probably the DFS game of the night. Now, on the Charlotte side of things, I feel like it could still be spread out enough that I don't know if there's too many of these guys I have a lot of interest in. Nick Richards is definitely my favorite, and he's going to be in almost half of my lineups. PJ Washington, I think, is a very strong tournament play. Dennis Smith Jr. is in my pool, and I'm not landing on him in any of my lineups.
Interesting.
The optimizer's just I'm only playing 20, and the optimizer's just not really giving me any of them. I'm landing on Bryce McGowan's, Teo Maledon, and Svi Mikhailuk. And to be clear, I'm already kind of basing this on I don't think Kelly Oubre is going to play. Okay. If Kelly Oubre plays, I'm going to get all those guys out of my pool.
And Gordon Hayward, who's doubtful.
Yeah. I bumped up their projections just assuming these guys are going to be out. And so I'm actually getting more Maledon and Svi and Bryce McGowan's because, like you said, we live in a world of a salary cap. A little bit of Kai Jones. I'm getting Kai Jones in 2 of my 20 lineups. But the PJ Washington is the tournament guy I like the best, and then Nick Richards is just a core play, a staple in your lineups.
Grant Williams available to play for Boston. Oh, he beat it. Usually, once you got that questionable tag with an illness, you're done over the day. But Grant Williams expected to play for Boston. So Boston fully healthy for the first time, I feel like in a while. Just sort of note that, cluttering up that rotation for sure. How much is McGowan's? Is he 3K? 3.7? Okay, so do we have an if-then? We don't have one on Oubre. My guess is Oubre doesn't play, but I don't know. And the other part of it is, as far as tanking stuff, I've said this before, Charlotte is fully entrenched in their spot. They're not moving. 7 losses. There's 7 losses behind Portland. Portland's in the 5, and there's 6 wins in front of San Antonio. So they're not making decisions based upon how does this get us more ping pong balls. At least they shouldn't if they understand math. I don't know where they went for education, what state they may have. They're Charlotte's in North Carolina.
Oops. There it is.
There it is, for guy. The Carolinas for sure. All right. So there you go. We are noting that I guess Oubre is not going to play, but who knows? We'll see. The Washington price just seems outrageous for him, but he's really popping. 7K on FanDuel. He's really popular over there too. I don't normally get sticker shock when the math kind of plays out, but I don't know, man. You mentioned Washington. What percent do you currently have of Washington? He's right now coming in at 10, much more popular on FanDuel. Richards at 38 is the big one. And then Oubre, if he plays, at 28%. But what if that shoulder is legit dinged? They're 9-10 point dogs. He's the first guy to go to the bench, I assume. They're not trying to necessarily win anything, but they don't. There's no reason to push Kelly Oubre is the point, right? I don't know what to do with these guys. Joe, did you make a group, by the way, with Jones and Richards? Did you chop those up? Only one of
Max 1, Jones, Richards, Max 1, DSJ, McGowan's, and Maledon. And I think that was it.
Do you want to mention before we talk about OKC? Yes, after the OKC game, producer Steve's going to come on and he's going to spin the wheel. We're going to give away 2 individual weeks, the RotoGrinders Premium. I said it before, I want to give away one every single week. Basketball is going on right now. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But baseball, our baseball product is fabulous. You're going to want to get a taste of it, want to give the people a taste of it. Thursday, 11 o'clock, myself, Blender, Kirkwood. We have Dave Potts, Cheese is Good, Derek Carty, all talking about the, I think it's an 11-gamer or so. There's 15 games, but there's 4 or 5 night games, however it works. Super excited to talk about baseball. And you want to get a piece of our Lineup HQ experience as well. There's some videos, by the way, that Dave put out there on the YouTube. If you guys happen to have premium, check it out because he will tell you if you're looking at Lineup HQ and how to build lineups, how to be different, how to build stacks. It will tell you. I was watching him last night, and it was just good to get a nice little refresher on the RotoGrinders YouTube page. Just go ahead and check that out. You can find it. Just popped up yesterday. Talk to me about OKC. The lack of SGA makes them really appealing.
Yeah, so Charlotte actually isn't as exciting to me as a few other teams on this slate. They're good in tournaments, but not at the same level as this OKC team for me. I have a rule that I want at least one of Joe, Giddy, and Trae Mann in every single one of my lineups. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean I'm going to get a ton of Trae Mann. I have 5 or 10% Trae Mann, something like that. but I want to get a ton of Isaiah Joe and I want to get a ton of Josh Giddey. I want to make sure I have one of them in my lineup because one of them should smash. If it's not Giddey, it's probably Joe. If it's not either of them, then it's definitely Trae Mann. And so I want to get one of those guys. And then Jalen Williams is somebody that, even though he's chalky, I'm trying to get double that ownership today. 65, 70% Jalen Williams. This is a rookie. He's going to play and they want to win. Even if this turns into a little blowout, he'll probably still get some run until it gets ugly. I love Jalen Williams today in a phenomenal matchup against Charlotte.
I love him too. 36% ownership is the only hiccup, right? But I'm probably going to be over that. I think it's just awesome chalk. Isaiah Joe might be a little bit less at 4.4. 4.4 the asking price, 24% as far as the ownership. Dort team's a little bit underpriced, a little bit more usage coming his way, 20% as far as ownership. And the other Jalen Williams, center and center only Jalen Williams, I'm a little less on, 12%. We're projecting about 20 fantasy points at 3K still minimum. Interesting that Giddey, the best raw points play, is getting the 5th highest ownership on this team. Maybe get over that, over 12%. I know you're going to pay 8.2, but I feel pretty good about him. Let's bring in producer Steve. Hopefully all y'all dropped the RotoGrinders logo in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Steve pulled your names. You put them on a wheel. We're going to spin that wheel. We're going to give away a week free of RG Premium ×2. Beantown asking about Poku. Yeah, Poku was playing in the G League, and he's been getting DMPCDs. There's a chance he might play, but it's very possible he gets 0. But I'm surprised he hasn't played, to be honest. And maybe there'll be a quote coming out on it. And the lack of SGA, maybe he plays tonight. I don't think we're projecting it, for the record. Oh, we are. We're giving him 12 minutes. That's called a hedge because I don't know, and our projection team doesn't know. But he's interesting, I suppose. You're making a ton of lineups, but I do not feel good about it, and it's very possible you get a 0. But maybe he plays 20 minutes. It's just not something you can count on. Steve, let's spin that.
Is too much Giddey.
Well, I mean, if you want to just take a stand on it, I think it's a pretty good stand to take. I would say 70%.
All right, I got 55.
Yeah, I think it's a good stand to take. I like it. Steve, you with me?
Steve's here. The wheel is ready to be spun.
Let's spin it. Let's give it a spin. Can we have spinning music? Do you have anything from the 90s we can play here, TJ?
I don't think so.
Not without copyright infringement.
You come on, you got all those Louis and Toonies. You won that GPP with Lindy Waters. You can pay for the whatever the fees are. How much does Deep Blue Stumbling really want to play in like 8 seconds?
I'm not willing to find out.
All right, here comes the first one.
Let's give it a spin. Steve did not know he would be on air today. That's why it's Casual Friday in the Steve household.
Dean is right. Oh, Tony says,
give me that premium. That's what he says.
All right, we're going to hit remove. He's out of the pool now. All right, and here's the second spin.
Says.
No spin doctors. We're not playing spin doctors. I understand what you're doing there, but this is a non-spin doctors show.
GRS12.
There you go. Sweet. Congratulations to the 2 winners. And I guess, I don't know. I never know. Is it producer Devin that slides in and will take care of it, or Steve takes care of it? Somebody will take care of you and knock you out and get you some RG Premium. Please enjoy the basketball for a week, but enjoy the baseball. You get all the sports, for the record. MMA, golf, anything you can think of as far as DFS, with the exception of NASCAR a la carte. And also the optimizer, all the bells, all the whistles. We hold nothing back. Give yourself a week. Enjoy it. All right. And if you hit anything, let us know. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be a fun story. Tweet at us. Hey, we're done with that game. Moving on. Yes.
Let's take it to the next one.
All right. Orlando, Memphis, 229 is the total. Orlando is a 7-point dog here. Again, nothing official as far as Morant, but we're assuming he's out. I think the projections have him out as well. He's currently doubtful. So assuming he doesn't go, it's going to be Tyus Jones season. Otherwise, nothing's changed for Memphis, right? Clark and Adams are out. They've been out the whole year. Orlando, essentially fully healthy, right? Nothing's changed for them as far as health-wise. Everybody, Suggs is back. Gary Harris is back. The only guys missing are Jonathan Isaac. So, I don't really love the Orlando side. I think Ben Caro, they presume Rookie of the Year, just kind of coasting in is kind of interesting. Basically, we're seeing 10% or so on Carter. I should get the most recent numbers, but I'll throw it to you. The Magic are not one of the more appealing teams for me in this slate. How about you?
No, me neither. The only ones in my pool are Fultz and Banchero, and I have a rule set that I want max one Magic player in any of my teams.
Yeah, and let me just kind of back it up as far as the current ownership, and I think it's pretty low. Yeah, Banchero at 12%, Carter at 12. Yeah, okay, Wagner, that's Franz Wagner at 10. Mo's getting 2. Yeah, there's not much to see here. I don't love the Orlando team. One of my least favorite teams in the slate. You talk about ownership, Tyus Jones, 41% ownership. It's not fully like the complete insane when, Jaws back for a month or something and Jones's price goes all the way down, but he's down to 5.3 on DK, which we know that's pretty silly. 41% ownership. I suspect I will be over that. I'm just going, it's not baseball. If it was baseball, sure, I will fade it because, bigger variance in baseball. I suspect you're going to be over 41% as well in Jones. That just seems like a really, really, really strong play that I want to be on the right side of.
Yeah, I'm currently at 90% Jones, and I wouldn't be upset if I got it all the way up to 100.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I think that's where I'm at also. What about the rest of Memphis? And if you don't love Orlando, are you maxing it out like only 2 Memphis guys per team, possibly 3? Because Bane looks really good. Triple J, like you always need Triple J in your tournament pool. We talk about this all the time, especially on a short slate and especially when there's not a ton of ownership coming his way. 12% coming his way. I see people talking about the Nard dog, Luke Kennard, who's been incredible of late. He did set the Memphis 3-point record, I believe, making 10 triples in one game. Scored 30 points. That's all he made, 3-pointers. That's what he does. But it's pretty thin. I suppose he's a guy that can mop up a little bit. This game gets ugly. It's 3-point variance. If you want to lead into that as far as Kennard, like nobody's playing him 3%. This game blows out. He probably gets a few extra minutes as well. But the rest of Memphis, where are you at?
So obviously, yeah, we love Tyus Jones. Desmond Bane is somebody that's landing in about 30% of my lineups today, but I'd be fine if I got to him even more than that. There's just so many great options today. Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm getting to about 15%. Santi Aldama is in my pool and is landing in about 10% of my lineups, and that's going to be about it for me today from Memphis.
Luke Kennard, 3-pointers per game. 4 for 9, 10 for 11, 3 for 5, 2 for 6, 4 for 8, 4 for 7, 4 for 5. Like, that's unsustainable. That's like record-breaking. That's the greatest shooter of all time. Shout out to Luke Kennard for these 7-game stretch or something like that. But, if you want to bet on that continuing, I don't know if it's going to stop tonight. I know at some point it's going to stop. He's got to slow down. But, I see people throwing his name out there. And he's no longer like 3K either. He's 4.5. Good question in chat from Alex. Tough question. And obviously it has like ownership implications. Giddey or Triple J?
Giddey.
Yeah. Jeremy, no Tillman. Did we talk about Xavier Tillman? He's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I just don't know if the ceiling is there.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is there. But I think it gets you between 24 and 32 points. Maybe 22 and 32. Well, actually, we have this tool. It says floor and ceiling. Our official floor is 18 and our ceiling is 35. He's fine. And if he's a last man in, if you love everything else, but I'm kind of with you. I don't think he's a must. Anything else we should talk about before we move on to the Hammer, the game that it's all by itself, the last back half of the primetime doubleheader, New Orleans, Golden State, lots of playoff implications. We're moving on, right?
Let's move on. Let's tackle this last game.
Yeah. Crunch Time Crew coming out about 5 minutes or so. You got Will, big fan of First Take. You have Tim. I don't know what his take is on First Take. And you have Roth. That'll be good times. Well, we might have time to talk about it because it's only – what's up?
I've never heard Tim talk about it, but I can almost guarantee that Tim doesn't like that type of show. Tim doesn't stand for that nonsense.
I don't think he does either. I think he doesn't have time for that. Yeah, he's got bronchitis. New Orleans, Golden State, 234.5 is the total. Golden State, 8-point favorite. New Orleans back half of a back-to-back. They're traveling as well. But again, they were not pushed last night. They fully mollywopped those Portland Blazers. As far as injuries, nothing new in the New Orleans side. It's just Alvarado and Zion. That's the way it's been for a while. We may get, what's his name, might come back. Gary Payton might come back for Golden State tonight. I believe the update was he was questionable. Wiggins, of course, still out. Otherwise, nothing different with the Warriors. Your thoughts as far as New Orleans, Golden State? Good environment, if nothing else.
Great tournament game. In terms of sports bets, I actually do like the Pelicans side of this as well. I think they can give Golden State a game today. On the New Orleans side of things, I really only have an interest in 2 players, and that's Brandon Ingram and Jonas Valanciunas. CJ McCollum, I think, is okay. There's just so many other guards I would rather get to. I'd rather play in that price range. I'd rather play Garland, Murray, Bane, a little bit up to Donovan Mitchell, Josh Giddey, like all of those guys I'd rather get to over McCollum. And so he'd be in my pool if I was playing 150. Same with a guy like Trey Murphy in my pool if I was playing 150, but not in 20 today. And then in terms of the Golden State side of things, I have a little bit more interest in things. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Jordan Poole. I got a rule that I want max one of these guys, but I want to get to at least 15% of each of them. And then Draymond Green and Kevon Looney are going to be in the pool as well. Looney is somebody that maybe lands in one lineup, and Green as like a 15%er.
The one conundrum I have on this slate, and I touted him yesterday. Shout out to me. I wrote him up yesterday and scored as an odds. Shout out to me. Jonas Valanciunas. I've been monitoring this guy as far as his minutes of late. It's been a roller coaster, but he's at the peak for sure. And I'm not sure if he's ready to fall down just yet. And the other thing that's coinciding is that he's playing a ton of minutes and New Orleans is winning, and they're trying to win. And maybe Larry Nance is playing a little bit dinged. That kind of story is out there. He's not getting a ton of run these days. He played almost 18 minutes yesterday in the first half. Again, the mollywopping yesterday, therefore he didn't play much in the third. 20 rebounds. Double-double, he squeezed out 10 points as well.
20 what?
But I was trying to say, I was combining rebounds with another word, I guess. I'm not really sure what happened there. But I was, there's stocks. I think I was creating my own version of stocks with rebounds.
Yeah.
I think rebounds and points. Reboints? Is that a thing? Reboints.
Could be.
Maybe not. There's
no
relationship with steals and blocks. And yeah, it's my new fetch. I want to make reboints a thing.
No,
but Valanciunas, like, this is the worst matchup when, defense versus archetype, post bigs against Golden State. Historically, I would be very concerned. I feel like, oh man, they're going to go small here, but they've been winning with Valanciunas. I'm really curious how this matchup goes, and maybe just like Looney plays more, because a lot of times Looney just appears in the fourth. So maybe we see Valanciunas close and Looney close, which makes them both pretty interesting to me. And I'm considering playing them against each other because I think I could see them both getting a bump in minutes. How about that?
I agree with that. I do think they actually make for a very interesting skinny stack together.
Yeah. You don't get that kind of take on First Take. They don't dig that much in the Jonas Valanciunas for sure. But I just think the price is obviously bumped up. I think there's a little bit of meat in that bone. And there's a chance you can get, 16 and 20. Like, he has 20 rebounding potential. We saw it last night in just 3 quarters. And a fast-paced game against Golden State, obviously. Golden State flying up and down. And that probably isn't the best argument for Jonas Valanciunas because he's a big lumbering dude that maybe doesn't suit for, a game that's kind of going up and down. But I will have him in at least one lineup because he's just interesting. And, again, they've been winning with what they've been doing, and I assume Willie Green's going to keep to that until it's, blowing up in their face, which it might. Like, Golden State can come up like 20-7, and all of a sudden they swap him out for Nance or something like that, and then I'm not feeling so good. But I think there's a path for Valanciunas to play like 34 minutes here in this game and grab a pile of boards. I'm hearing some rumbling. I assume that means the Crunch Time crew is here. I see Tim. I see Roth. I see Will. I hear a fake cat. I believe one of these days we got to play.
Fake cat?
Didn't Will just make a sound effect? I believe that was Will making sound effects.
No, it was an actual cat.
Was it? Will? No? Am I hearing things? I'm watching the screen. I saw him smiling as he was doing it.
I mean, maybe, but when I hear a cat meow, I just assume somebody's got a cat, not like who's making a fake cat noise.
Right.
I thought it was
somebody
Ross,
were
baby.
to, it would be Will. For sure.
True.
He's always making sound effects.
Tim, can you confirm my hypothesis that you have absolutely no interest in a show like First Take?
That is correct. I don't even know what that is.
That was the chalk. There was no disagreement.
Oh,
there was
no, Tim.
Here we go.
Tim. Wait. You at least have to know what the show is. You don't have to watch it because, First Take isn't like my.
I want to say what I think it is, but I really don't want to say because everyone's gonna laugh at me.
Let's hear it.
No.
Let's hear it. What do you think it is?
There's no laughter here. This is a safe space.
Is First Take the one with Stephen A?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
you know what
Okay,
it is.
yeah. I hate that show.
That's glorious. Oh, man.
Oh, that was awesome.
So did anyone actually listen to Mad Dog Russo before he was on the show?
He was huge in New York. Mike and the Mad Dog was a big thing locally for like 25 years.
So I'm saying, did anybody listen? But did anybody actually listen to it?
Oh, like you're asking us? I never.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm aware of him, but I never like listened to him. I'm aware of his existence, though.
It's literally basically the same show. It's just live.
Yeah,
they took the Mike and the Mad Dog scheme and they basically put it on television. So that's basically what they did.
I mean, it gets ratings and it makes a bunch of money, so it's not going away. I'm sorry. There's a reason why there's 2 hours worth of like manufactured arguments on your TV. Actually, they say extended beyond it. That's essentially all.
Well, actually, it's getting really bad because they keep talking about the same thing over and over. They talk about the same thing on Get Up. They talk about the same thing on that show. They talk about the same thing on the next show. It's let's just get some fresh content. Like
that's what
like,
I don't
come
understand. On. They just have
it's
the
so
same,
bad.
Like who's better, LeBron or Jordan argument for like 7 shows in a row. Like I could almost
so bad.
understand watching one show. It's the same show all day. It's brutal.
But Roth, if you're the producer for First Take, your job is you have to manufacture 2 hours worth of arguments, and that's just that's your gig, man.
That's why
you can talk about
something.
When
he gets paid, man. Or
you can talk about something other than what the first show just talked about for 2 hours, though. Like let's be clear. So, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't take them too seriously, I suppose, but they're doing well for themselves. So you can only throw so much shade at them, I suppose. You guys excited about tonight's 6-gamer? Does anybody have a Jonas Valanciunas? Tim, I'm curious your take. Were you listening? Were you in there on time?
I was. I think
What's
it's a
your
little.
take on
I think it's a little aggressive, Dean. But I mean, I don't. I guess I don't hate it for large field tournaments. But I mean, I liked how you combine the words rebounds and boards.
Yeah, reboards.
And reboards. That's a new thing. I like that. Reboards.
Oh wait. Oh, is that what I was doing?
I said that and you didn't even catch it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's redundant. That's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a question. What's the show with Sharp and the other guy?
Get Up?
Undisputed.
Undisputed.
Okay. See, that's
Fox Sports' version of the same thing.
Okay, that's okay. All right, that's another one that I instantly shut that off. Also,
but like if you had to pick Sophie's choice, if you had to pick one, like you have to watch on a loop, 24-hour loop. You got to watch either Skip and Shannon or Stephen A. and the Mad Dog. What are you going with?
If I have to, it's Stephen A. and the Mad Dog.
Honestly, I'm going with Uncle Shannon and Skip. Because they don't have to talk about the 20 million things that they just talked about on the previous show. Like their show is more fresh than First Take, believe it or not. Like if you actually watch the shows, Skip and Shannon have like fresh takes. They're not going to talk about Aaron Rodgers for like 8 hours. It's God. Don't
I just saw like on that. Skip was like telling Shannon like he wasn't that good. Like I don't care you're in the Hall of Fame. I saw that clip, which was kind of like
Skip, you're gonna sign with this man, and I'm with you every day. I don't understand. Skip. No. I'm not putting up with this today. I'm not putting up with this today, Skip. I'm not doing it.
It's my turn.
Well, that was actually about the Dallas Cowboys. But anyway.
That's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what people want? Is they want DFS content. They don't want us to do the same thing that we're complaining about and just talk about the shows and how terrible they are. So I think we should make a little pivot here.
You guys got 40 minutes. Y'all got plenty of time. 6-gamer to knock it out. Do appreciate y'all watching the first portion of the show. We're going to hand it off to the FanDuel sponsor, Crunch Time. Myself and TJ, thank you for watching. And now continue to watch with Tim, Will, and Roth. Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it. By the way, getting a lot of love in the chat for that Shannon Sharp impersonation, just so you know. The YouTube chat, they are impressed.
I'll be here all week.
Yeah, it's clear you've been practicing and it's working for you. So excellent stuff. I'm also aware that my mic, I think, sucks. My good mic that is here. This is not where the sound is coming from. So I'm going to try to fix that during the show. But just
sounds good to me. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, you sound normal to me.
Okay. Well, we are here to give the players and the people some winners. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel, and it is the best show in the biz because it's free. And B, we got two of the sharpest minds in the biz coming to help us out. One, we got TastefulTides, also known as Tim, joining us. What up, Tim?
Yeah, how's it going? Are you getting ready for some baseball, Kevin? It's that time.
Oh God.
Are you excited?
No, I'm not. Like I'm just wrecked with anxiety.
I'm so excited for baseball. Baseball is one of my favorites, so I am fired up.
I already have baseball props in for Thursday, just so you know.
You have them in the prop shop?
Yeah, in the prop shop.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, make sure you're checking out the prop shop. If you like props, that's the spot to be. Alan says Kevin is feeling orange-red. That's accurate about where I'm at right now. We got Chief as well. He is fired up for baseball, but he's here for some NBA content. Chief, you feeling good about this 6-game slate?
I actually am. I'm kind of in the same predicament as I was last night in my single entry stuff, where I'm kind of in the midst of what I'm going to decide to do in a 2v2 situation, which is probably what most people come down to at the end of the night. Last night I decided, and I think in fact I pitched the question on the show, and I was like, hey, it was like Harden and Portis or Maxey and Brolo, and I think Harden and Portis was kind of the chalk answer, so I went Maxey and Brolo. Maxey ended up still being very chalky because Harden got ruled out, but that definitely saved my night because Julius Randle wet the bed. But so similar situation here, and we'll see how it goes. And of course, that's tournament stuff, not cash, but we'll see how it goes. But I think I've got an interesting angle, especially for FanDuel today. So I think that'll be some fun.
Okay, how good is Quickly? Like, how good does that do to basketball? Because I thought Jalen Brunson was a savior, and then every time he's out and Quickly comes in, he just absolutely balls, right?
I mean, it might be the coach. I mean, Derrick Rose was the MVP under Tom Thibodeau, and you sit back and think about it, it might be Tibbs.
Damn.
For all we know.
I was impressed.
No, but Brunson's good, though. Brunson's good.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into what we've got here. And, Tim, I do believe that you are going to be our cash guru, our Andy Means, if you will. We like to start on FanDuel because this show's sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure if you're in a legal sports betting state, you sign up, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer on FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts because in Massachusetts, you get the special offer of bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Take advantage of that. Hit us with a little thumbs up for that free content over there on FanDuel. Tim, let's talk slate.
Yeah, so usually when I come on the show at this hour, I'm like all nervous about the news and what's coming up later. And today we don't really have that. Like a lot of the news we've already got, and that makes things really, really easy from like a content perspective, but also makes cash games kind of stale, and it also makes like causes ownership to condense. So I'm really excited to hear what Will has to say for tournaments, because it's definitely like some really, really condensed spots that are going to be very, very high owns.
And are we in a spot where not only are we not expecting news short term, but like you don't really think anything's going to break through the night?
You never know,
sure.
But I'm not seeing anything drastic unless like Golden State pulls something funny. But I mean, they really need to keep winning games, and so do the Pelicans. So I'm not anticipating anything too funny later on in the night, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, but fun for like casual play. Fun for me. Just like lock in a lineup and don't have to.
Yeah, like I don't want to say you can set it and forget it, because it rarely happens that way. But you might get away with that tonight.
Right. Okay. Noted.
So,
let's talk about the plans.
Yeah. So super easy play, 100% cash game play. Tyus Jones for the Grizzlies. You're locking him into your cash games. There's no questions asked. Ja is out tonight. Tyus Jones chalk is, I think, some of the most stable chalk that you can really have in NBA DFS. He is definitely, he's just 100% cash game lock. We don't have to spend that much time on that. Just play him. Mm-hmm. Moving along to your second point guard position on FanDuel gets a little bit trickier. Dennis Smith is rating out as a very, very strong play in our projections. I'm not totally convinced I'm going to be playing him in cash games. If you land on him, that's completely fine. I'd rather get to, say, like a Darius Garland or a Fred VanVleet or a Josh Giddey. Those would be kind of my more preferred point guard spots. But really, it's you're kind of in that range of, between. I'd rather see you spend somewhere between like the 8 and 9K range in your second point guard spot, and then shooting guard. We see that notorious Noto, one of our more well-known contributors here at RG, has scored Jalen Williams. He's 7,000. With SGA out, there's a ton of usage to go around, and he's projected to play 36 minutes against the Hornets, and I really, really love that play. So I think he should be a cash game staple. It doesn't really matter to me. I think there's enough multi-positional eligibility that it doesn't really matter if you want to play him at small forward or shooting guard. I really don't have a lean either way, but he should be in your cash game build for sure. Then there's guys like Lou Dort, Max Strus. I also Tyler Hero. I absolutely love today. There's no Jimmy Butler. Gabe Vincent's questionable. Kyle Lowry's only projected to play about 24 minutes, so I think Hero's going to be like the point guard guy. So he doesn't have like a huge projection like points per dollar wise, but I really, really like him, and I think you could definitely play him in cash games. I also think that you could easily get to Desmond Bane also. I think what you'll notice with this slate, at least for cash games, is that there's not one like premium high-end spend guy. It's all like a very, very balanced build today. There's not like one single like must-have premium spend player.
Mhm.
So I really like slates like this where it's not like, oh, play Jokic or play Embiid or
Sure.
or you have to play Giannis. Like, nope, it's not like that. There's a lot of really, really strong mid-range plays today. Shooting guard and small forward, they're very much similar. Like, there's not like one guy who's not also shooting guard eligible other than Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram is 9,200 on FanDuel. He's a little bit better price on DK, which we'll get to. I'm interested to hear what Will has to say about this play. You don't have to play Brandon Ingram. He probably doesn't rate out as a cash game play. In single entry, I'm going to be rostering Brandon Ingram. Cash games I can understand because he's a little bit expensive. He's maybe a little bit hard to get to in some builds. I just wanted to bring him up because I think he's a really, really he's a good play.
Mhm.
So, but he's by no means like a cash game lock. Denny Otvia rates out well on FanDuel. I don't like this matchup, against Boston. Like, I know he's going to play a ton of minutes, but if you want to go with projections, which, definitely smarter than I am, then that's fine. But I'm not crazy about it. I'd much rather play like Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Max Strus, Desmond Bane, Tyler Hero. Like, he really, really falls to the bottom for me. And then power forward, PJ Washington. I love him. I love him on FanDuel. He's 7,000. He should really, really fill up the stat sheet in this matchup. Evan Mobley with no Jared Allen, 8,600. Really, really strong play. So those would be my two favorite. And then what's kind of another strange thing about this slate is the center position. Not really any like high-end, super high-end options. Like, you've got Nick Richards, who's going to be by far the highest owned and the guy that you should be playing in cash. But after that, nothing really, really sticks out. Like, Bam Adebayo should do well in this matchup. I feel like I've been saying that all season, and he really hasn't really done it that much. But I think he might be like a contrarian way to play in a single entry. I'll let Will talk about that maybe, but Nick Richards is far and away absolutely your cash game play. So Nick Richards 100%, Tyus Jones 100%, and Jalen Williams 100% for cash games. Those three guys are definitely the cash game cornerstones today.
Okay, very good. Just a couple quick questions. First off, we got news that Okoro is out. Do we care?
Very little.
Okay. My second thought was about Kyle Lowry, right? There's injury situations going on there. Are his minutes like hard capped? Are they just not even trying to advance it because he's been in that mid-20s range? Can he not see a boost there?
I guess he could see a small boost. I would imagine that he still comes off the bench though. You know, like I don't see him, like we have projected for 24. Last I looked, maybe he gets to 27.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's anything earth shattering, in my opinion.
You're right.
So
is he just not good anymore? Like, what did I miss? I thought that dude was good, and
well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just age. You know, it's just, but also. I think he's fine for tournaments because he's cheap. Like he's not priced like he's good, you know. Right. So like he's okay for tournaments, but there's no way I touch him in cash.
Okay, all right. Okay, very good. Yeah, I feel caught up. I feel like I have a good baseline of what's going down, and now we got to figure out how we're gonna twist and turn and figure things out. Chief, let's talk tournaments, and first and foremost, let's talk about those three cornerstones. Right? It was Tyus, Richards, and then Jalen Williams, I think.
Yeah.
Are you in tournaments? Are you like, okay, those three dudes are my dudes, or are you getting off those guys?
So listen, even in tournaments, and I think that's something that I'm always thinking about what's good chalk and what's bad chalk. Like bad chalk, I go ahead and hit the X button in tournaments, like quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't even think about it. Good chalk, I'm typically going lock button unless there are multiple guys that I feel like can get there. So on tonight's slate, Tyus Jones is the best value at point guard in my opinion. Jalen Williams probably is the best 7K player on the slate, maybe outside of PJ Washington. And then, Richards is probably the best center play. And so I'm probably less reluctant to lock Richards, but I'm most reluctant. I'm most likely to just hit the lock button on Williams and Tyus Jones. Even though I trust Richards, we've got a very good projection on him. I like playing cheap centers, especially on nights which Tim mentioned, there's no Jokic, there's no Embiid. So I don't really have anybody that I feel like is going to burn me tonight. Porzingis is in a tough matchup, even though Beal is out and Kuzma out. This is a pretty tough, a much tougher matchup than he's seen recently. So, and he's more expensive than some of these other guys. What I will say is this, and I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way quickly, which is probably different for most people. I like Dennis Smith Jr. I don't love Dennis Smith Jr. I don't think I need Dennis Smith Jr. to win a tournament. He gets the X button right away on FanDuel. And it's mainly because he's going to be pushing 30%, and I think he gets probably over 30% by the time this is over with now in terms of the ownership because of how the slate is shaking out. Really small slate. Everybody likes this Charlotte Thunder game, so I got to trim the fat somewhere to try to get away from the field. Dennis Smith Jr. is the way I'm going to do that. I will bump up some Teo Maladon exposure, probably only going to get 20 to 25 minutes, but in tournaments, I'm willing to accept that. I'm going to go way over the field on Josh Giddey. So where I'm cutting out that Dennis Smith Jr. exposure, I'm going to try to double the field on Josh Giddey. I'm paying a lot more to get him, but Josh Giddey's got way more ceiling than Dennis Smith Jr. If Josh Giddey goes off for 50 and Dennis Smith Jr. goes off for 32, trust me, I'm going to feel much better that I've got 60% Giddey and 0 shares of Dennis Smith Jr. So that's an approach I'm going to take. Another way in a handful of lineups to get different, just get rid of PJ Washington altogether and then go double. On this slate, it's going to be double expensive, but just play Jaren Jackson and play Evan Mobley You're not going to see that too much in tournaments, but you can get it done. I've already built several lineups that way. These two guys, Evan Mobley and Triple J, they've got pretty good upside considering the situation. No Ja tonight, so Triple J has a shot to go for 45-50. You already know that without the center playing for Cleveland, Evan Mobley's got a chance. Allen, thank you. He's got a chance to go for a big number. So I like playing both of those guys together and kind of getting rid of PJ, who's also going to garner a lot of ownership. And so just by tweaking a chalky lineup just a little bit, that's enough to get past the field tonight. Trust me. Tyus Jones is probably going to do what he needs to do. Williams is going to do what he needs to do. Dennis Smith I think is just going to be meager. I don't think he goes for 40. I think we're right, somewhere in the low to mid 30s. I can overcome him scoring 35 fantasy points if I just get rid of him. So that's what I'm thinking about in terms of tournament lineups overall based around that game. And then outside of that, how do you want to handle Jason Tatum? We've got him at very low ownership. I can fit Tatum in tonight with no problem. Give me tons of Jason Tatum, who hasn't had a big game in a while. And so he's just kind of another one of those guys that I just want to go over the field on. We've seen teams just hammer Atlanta. I'm going way over the field on Karis LeVert tonight. Once we got all these guys ruled out, he's 6,200. I think Karis LeVert can hit the 40-point ceiling against Atlanta. We've seen almost every team in the world have big games against Atlanta. Why can't Karis LeVert do that tonight? He's got very low ownership. I'm over the field on Garland, over the field on Mitchell. All these Cleveland guys definitely over the field. This should be a track meet. They've got limited bodies. Even some of the bitch guys like Rubio and Osman, I'm willing to include those guys in the pool as well. Now, listen, those are more fringe, but when you're building 150, I can get 10 to 15% of those guys and be fine.
Yeah. Osman, I'm glad you brought that up. There are a few questions about him with Okoro being out.
Oh, really?
Yep. There's a few Osman questions. So you're interested. You got at least
and Rubio. I don't want to leave him out either. Like I said, I'm not playing 20% of these guys, but I think 10 to 12% of both of those guys in a spot where they're playing Atlanta, limited bodies. If the minutes pick up, they could be good value.
Okay, and then the other name I've seen a couple times, and maybe it's just the same person saying the same name, but it's Joe. Is it Isaiah Joe? Is that his name?
So Isaiah Joe, he's a guy I actually just X out every time. I haven't played a single share of Isaiah Joe
he dropped
since
like
he came
40
on the scene.
fantasy points last night, I think. Right?
I don't care. I didn't play him when he was 3,800. I didn't play him when he was 4,200. I'm definitely not playing him tonight at 5,400. He gets the automatic X button every time.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Good stuff. Good analysis. Let's kick it over to a little DK here. Tim, is there a lot of difference? Are there some pricing differences here that you're interested in?
My bad. Sorry, Tim. But it's a big
That's
DK night.
That's all right. I do want to just say one thing about Isaiah Joe for the person who asked that question. Joe is in my opinion, a much better play on DK. So depends on what site they're playing, but
gotcha.
I think he's a better. But I also do kind of agree with Chief. Like he's a guy that I rarely play, so I don't mind Chiefs take either about Xing him out every time. But I think if you're gonna play him, I would do it. I prefer they do it on DraftKings.
Okay, very good.
So just transitioning over to DK. Same thing goes for Tyus Jones. No brainer cash game play. Tyler Hero rates out a lot stronger on DK. I love him on both sites. I've already touched on that. He's only 6,900 on DraftKings. He's definitely, and he's point guard, shooting guard. So to me, he's a cash game lock. Darius Garland, there's kind of like this debate in my mind between Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. There's a $1,200 price gap between the two. I really like them both. Like you can't play them both, but I'm leaning Darius Garland just kind of like in my personal build. But it's a really good matchup against Atlanta. So I think that having exposure to one of those two guys is a strong play. In terms of other differences for cash games, there's not a whole heck of a lot. Like Jalen Williams is only power forward on DK, so it's a little bit different positions that you have to do, but he's still a core play. Nick Richards is still a core play, definitely at 4,700 at center. But the same thing kind of goes like Max Strus, Karis LeVert, like Chief mentioned, he's 4,900. I don't want to get too crazy with Cleveland in cash, so I still would prefer people play Garland, Mitchell, or Mobley. But LeVert's fine if like you want like another cheap Cleveland player and you only have one of those three guys that I just mentioned. So, he's there. He's a good play. But there's really not that big a difference, I think, for cash anyway. Tournaments, it's maybe a bit of a different story because ownership's a little bit different. But really, the core guys are still your core guys. And there's not a lot of crazy differences.
Okay, that's fair. Well, then let's talk tournaments over on DK, Chief. I bring you in. Talk about what you see as different and what your build approach is over there.
Yeah, I'm going to start in reverse on this one because I think this Pelicans Warriors game on DK it's a much better investment on DraftKings rather than FanDuel, where you've got Ingram at 8,800, Valanciunas at 7,700, CJ at 7,900, Trey Murphy at 6,100, Looney at 5,200. Draymond 6,200, Curry at 96. The pricing is just better. Clay at 6,600. So I like that game a lot better, especially Brandon Ingram at 8,800. I think he's a big time play tonight for DK. Whereas on FanDuel he's 9,200, a little bit more restrictive at 8,800. I like it a ton. Nick Richards. I mean, I don't have to convince you on Nick Richards. He's 4,700 on DK. Like, just get him in. Jalen Williams 6,700 on DK. Just get him in. Tyus Jones, 5,300 on DK. Just get him in. And so the slight difference between me on DraftKings and FanDuel, I wouldn't lock Nick Richards on FanDuel because you only get one center spot. Now, you technically only get one center spot on DraftKings as well, but the utility is going to open it up for us, right? And Nick Richards is cheaper. So on FanDuel, by not locking Nick Richards, I'll end up with some other combinations where Triple J or PJ Washington or something like that, or I forget names tonight, or Mobley. Any of them could end up in the center spot, and that would just get Nick Richards out of my build altogether. But on DK, where he's 4,700 at the utility, I'm perfectly fine with locking those three guys in. I still like Triple J on DK. I like Tillman a lot more on DK as well at 5,100 because I can just play him at center. Desmond Bane at 7,300 on DK, much better play. Still like him on FanDuel. I'm with Tim on Hero, 6,900. I think he's a great play. Max Strus at 4,400 is a great play. I'm definitely going to play more Bam on DK, and I think you guys are kind of seeing a theme here where a lot of these cheaper guys outside of some of the big games. Karis LeVert for me on DK, he's borderline lock button for me at 4,900. I know that's four guys, but at 4,900, that's really low for the type of production I think we're going to get from him tonight. As you can tell, and in fact, I'll just tell you, Karis LeVert is my favorite tournament play on the board today. Like, period, both sides, even though he's more expensive on FanDuel. I do think Marcus Smart on DK is a better play at 5,700. I like him a ton. And then I also like Rob Will on DK at 4,600. He's another sneaky play as well. And then last but not least, Dejounte Murray, 7,600, facing Cleveland. I am in. And then those are kind of some of the differences. Oh, and I meant to say this too. I'm sorry. I got all these thoughts. I should have written them down today. I had more markings than right now. Denny Avdia gets the X button today for me. I loved him when he was 5K and 5,200. He's 6,500 now and 6,800 on FanDuel. X button on both sides.
He's not. I thought you said Giddy. Who did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry, Denny Avdia.
Denny. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, from Washington. He gets the X button on both sites tonight. The price is inflated. Matchup with Boston. He's gonna have some production, but I just don't see ceiling in this matchup. So I'm hitting the X button, just getting him out of my pool.
Okay, very good. And I'm glad you mentioned the guy on Atlanta, Dejounte. Like, I just feel like that price, he's like $1,000 cheaper than his average, right? I mean, that price just stands out. I want to taste. I want a little nibble of that. Okay, anything that you guys want to add? We've got about 12 minutes until lock here. Tim, anything you want to say before we just dive into everybody's QQs?
I think we should do some QQs if we got them.
We do. We always do. As always, hey, hit that thumbs up. It's free content. All we ask is that you hit the thumbs up. That's it. Going to try to keep the show free for as long as we can. Let's get to the questions. I will start with a little DK Cash from Arlo. Tim, Garland, Richards, or Joe and Ingram?
I love, you got to have Richards. So the first one.
Okay. NBA DFS says, who starts for Allen for the Cavs?
Oh,
Stevens.
Yeah.
Mobley to the center, and then Stevens maybe.
So do we have
That's what
interest
they're
in
doing.
Stevens?
I don't have interest in Stevens. He's projecting decently, but he's only he's 3,100. He's projected for 20 fantasy points, but not horrible. But I really like the other. He's going to be like the fourth option. So the fifth option. So I'm all set with him, really, unless you absolutely have to have a punt.
Chief, you interested? I mean, we don't have any super cheap guys.
I'm not playing any Stevens. Like, I'm playing Denny and Rubio. That's enough for the cheap Cleveland guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Let's see. DK Cash question. D. Mitch. Oh, it's another question I wanted to bring up. I'm glad he said that name. Giddey or Mitchell? Mitchell is another guy where I looked at his price and I looked at the name and I thought, I think I want a little of that. But in cash, I have a ton of Giddey as well. But who's your favorite there in cash, Giddey or Mitchell?
It's tough, but I think it's Mitchell.
Okay, very interesting.
It's tough. I could totally be wrong on that, but I like Mitchell.
Yep. Chief, fair to say both are good tournament plays, both Giddey and Mitchell?
Yeah, for sure. Giddey's a lot cheaper on FanDuel, a much closer in price on DK.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see what else we got. FanDuel single entry question from Falcor. Svi and Mobley or Hero and Tillman?
Oh, God.
Is it Civi? Is it Civi and Mobley?
I think I'm going Civi and Mobley. I think Mobley's got a little bit more upside than Hero tonight. Civi has less upside than Tillman, but all things equal, I think Mobley outscores Hero, so I'm going that direction.
Very good. Tim, Chinatown has a DK Cash question for you. Do you prefer Richards or Looney if the $500 doesn't matter?
I still think I prefer Richards.
Okay.
I still prefer Richards.
Yep.
I do.
All right.
Yep.
For what it's worth, I've got Mobley and Hero in my FanDuel lineup, for what it's worth.
Okay. All right. DK Cash question from Arlo. Now this is a 3v3, Tim. Mitchell, Joe, and Bam, or Hero, Barnes, and Bane?
The second one.
Crossover King says, Chief, are you keeping your GPP builds more balanced on FanDuel, fading almost all plays over 9K?
Mostly outside of Tatum. I've got a real small pool tonight, like super small. But Tatum is the one guy I didn't want to fade.
Okay. Do you have anybody else that you're spending up for? What, we got isn't Steph on this slate, or am I making that up?
Well, no, I'm not playing Steph on Steph or Trae on FanDuel. Those are more DK for me. But on like I said, on FanDuel, I'm really condensed. Whole lot of 8, 7, 6, and some of these a whole lot of the point guard from Memphis, Tyus Jones.
Okay. FanDuel GPPs, any interest in Oubre if he plays? And then we got a follow-up question. We'll hold up on that. Any interest in Oubre?
No.
Okay. Another question on FanDuel. Who interests you the most in tournaments on Golden State? They do have the highest team total on the slate tonight.
On FanDuel, it will probably be Curry. I know Clay 7K. I think, if you're that interested in the game, maybe sprinkle him in some. But that would be about it because Looney's 6K now, Draymond's 7K now. I just don't think any of those prices are advantageous.
All right. DK Cash, last piece, Giddey or Mobley, Tim?
I think Giddey.
Okay. DK GPP question from Tony says, Chief, you want Barnes, Tillman, or Bam and Dort?
Give me Bam, Dort.
DK Cash question from Achilles. Tim, is Looney in play for cash? Kind of mentioned, I guess his price has been inching up there.
I don't think so. I don't think he's a cash game play for me. You said Looney, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
All right. Okay. I'm scrolling up now, jumping on over to the YouTube chat, get those questions in here. And I will start with Darren in a FanDuel cash question. Strus and Bam, Tim, or Bain and Richards?
I really like both of them. What was the first one again?
It was Strus Bam versus Bain Richards.
Okay, Bain Richards.
Okay. Alex says Caleb Martin. I will consider that a GPP question, Chief. Any Caleb Martin in that pool of yours?
I don't mind a sprinkle.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down. Rad Dad Fanny Pack says Monte Morris or Isaiah Joe in a FanDuel GPP.
Monte Morris for me, but if I had to choose, but my real answer is neither.
Okay. I keep landing on DK in this spot with like 4,800 in the guard forward spot, and it's like I go down and get Joe. It's just like I don't know. It's an awkward spot with some of those names, Morris, Joe. DK, Triple J or Washington? P.S. I'm playing Mobley. I'll call it a GPP question, Chief.
Triple J or Washington are playing Mobley.
Yep.
DK, give me Triple J. Slightly lower ownership.
All right. Roger Jones says, can I play Richards and Looney? Can I play them both in a DK GPP?
You can. I don't like it, but you can.
Okay. Taylor says, I think these are just names and then a lock button next to him. So for what it's worth, Taylor says Mobley, LeVert, Garland, Mitchell, lock.
I hope you're not doing that all in one team.
Yes.
You might want to make some rules. I mean, ask Chief, like, how many Cavs you playing on one team? Like max 2, max 3? Like what's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use some sports betting terminology. I'd be in like a round robin scenario where if I put in Mobley, then I'd say, okay, Mobley LeVert, Mobley Mitchell, Mobley Garland, right? And then I get rid of Mobley and I'd say, okay, well, maybe Mobley fails. LeVert, Mitchell, LeVert, Garland, like that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I do like the spot with Atlanta. I will say this: if you're throwing in one of the cheap guys like Rubio at 34, Osman at 36, like I get playing 3. I don't think I'd play 3 of the big guys.
Gotcha. Okay, great answer. Fred says Giddey or Jackson on DK. I'll call it a tournament question, though. I don't know.
I still think that's Giddey. And facing Charlotte, no SGA.
Okay. Alex says, any interest in Steph tonight? Chief, you said not so much on FanDuel, but maybe a sprinkle on DK.
DK is much cheaper. I mean, he's like 9,600. Like that, I like that. That's a great price.
Yeah, he can score 50 real life points like that. He could do. Yeah. Boncaro or Bain? If this is cash, it's Bain, right?
Bain,
without a doubt.
yes.
If it's the tournament, though, Boncaro.
If it's tournaments, it's also Bain. I'm not playing Paolo at all.
All right. I'm going to take one more question here out of the YouTube chat. Going to make sure we're caught up on the Discord as well. Who would be your favorite forward? Chief, this is for you. DK GPP, 6,200 or less.
Give me. I'll answer it in a second.
Okay, that's fine. FanDuel Cash, Tim. D. Smith and Hero or Garland LeVert?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't really like D. Smith, but I love Hero. So I guess it's the second one. But I really think you should be playing Hero. I just don't really like D. Smith that much in cash.
Okay, fair enough.
6,200 or less. Give me Lou Dort, actually.
Okay, very good.
Because everybody else
Arlo.
is just kind of.
Yeah. Arlo says your favorite small forward cash play on DK, Tim. And then he says, spot sucks. I, too, have been caught there at that same spot because it sucks.
Favorite small forward, they asked?
Yep, on DK.
On DK, Max Strus probably, or Lou Dort. If you have the money, Brandon Ingram. But I know that's a different kind of build. So I would say if you want to just save, I would say Strus or Lou Dort.
I feel like Strus's ownership is going to be through the roof because there are no good plays at small.
But it's cash though. You
Sure.
know, it's like you're not worried about that in cash. In tournaments, I completely agree with you. He's a little bit sketchy chalk, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I know people like Scotty Barnes tonight for what it's worth, but like I'm not a Scotty Barnes guy. I fade him almost every slate too, and I come out just fine.
All right. Ball, by the way, we got less than 2 minutes left. Let's lightning round this. Ball says Bane or Garland, DK Cash. Tim?
Garland.
Jay Sam says, any interest in Jalen Williams, parentheses, the bad one, Jay, in FanDuel GPPs?
No, not today.
Okay. FanDuel Cash 2v2, LeVert, Dort, or Civvy Bane?
The first one.
Bazinga says, DK GPP 3-entry max. If you're fading Richards on one team, do you think you should look at playing Kai Jones, assuming Richards doesn't get there?
No.
Okay. DK Cash, Kai Jones, yay or nay? I assume that's a nay.
He's
In cash?
3K.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, not in cash.
Yeah. That's not a cash play. All right. DK, Stevens, or Dort, I think is the question there.
Lamar Stevens?
Yeah, Stevens is popping hard, but I don't really want to play him.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Hey, we need 7 likes to get to 100. Mostly, it's. Let me just take a few more questions, then I'll beg. Javon Watts says, Jay Williams or Hero? Chief, I'll give that one to you. Williams or Hero?
Jay Will.
Very good. And with that, we have hit lock. Hey, hit that thumbs up for us. It's free content. We try to get to as many of those questions as we can. You guys want to help me with my lineup real quick?
Sure.
What do you got?
All right. 4,800. I think the spot I was trapped at was 4,800, and I can either make it guard or forward. So a guard or a forward at 4,800 on DK, to be clear.
Yeah.
And you don't have Strus or Joe?
So I've got like 6 lineups, and basically I've got like 2 Strus, 2 Joe. But like, is there anything else, or I'm just?
I mean, I can give you like deep tournament stuff that I'm playing. Stuff I've talked about.
Luke Kennard.
See, I was wondering, is that reasonable, or do it?
I mean, it's probably. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I play Jetty Osman and take the salary discount and leave the money on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just keep landing in that same spot, and I'm like, I don't trust any of these guys I'm playing, but that's
so it's 4,800 your max.
Come again?
So I'm saying 4,800 is what you have left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you play Jetty, you'll have 600 left on the table. Like nobody will have that bill. Nobody.
I think I did that one. Yeah, I did that one of my builds. So all right, that makes sense.
Well, there you go.
All right, there we go. All right. Hey, I think we are gonna bounce on out of here. TJ, by the way, says Kyle Lowry. I got a little Lowry too. So I'm pretty scattershotted in that range. I just hate all of the plays. All right, we're gonna bounce on out of here. Good stuff, gentlemen. For Tim, for Chief, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.